Hi everyone, I am still in Spokane and it is raining in Spokane. Yes, I wish it was raining in Northern California a lot. Crossing fingers and toes that we actually get a lot of rain. So everybody send out little positive vibes that the rain that's happening in the deep south kind of moves west. And I know that's impossible based on the trade currents and trade winds and stuff, but let's just like send the water somewhere else. That would be really great. We are doing the numerology and astrology for May 20th, 2021. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 12. And if you add the 1 and the 2 together, you get the number 3. The number 3 is about positive mind. The number 3 is about learning to see the positive in all situations. Being with family is always this interesting nostalgic thing because you recognize that these crazy moments that have happened in families ultimately ended up being one of the best things or one of the most positive things. There are so many things that happened to me when I was a kid that now I recognize were a training ground. It was like training wheels for what I had to deal with in being alone in New York at Juilliard, being in Berlin by myself when the wall was up during the Cold War. And it was, pretty scary and really dangerous in Berlin at that particular time. And then, traipsing across, the ocean and going to Ballet West and the challenges and conflicts that created. And so when you have something crazy happen, it's so essential to learn that somewhere along the way, this skill, this moment, can be reflective and really valuable. And so just kind of notice those swings between the good and the bad in the world. And oftentimes the things that I thought were so bad ended up being so essential as coping mechanisms or learning how to not react or learning to not do a knee-jerk position. And it was really interesting. I was talking to one of my family members the other day, and her comment was, yeah, I still think I'm working on compassion. She says, I still have a lot of trouble with compassion. And I think that's pretty obvious in the world right now. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at compassion by a long shot, but I try to be like in the forefront of my mind, the consciousness of that. And in my house, in my main room, in my house, I have the tanka of the Buddhist god of compassion. And it's just, as the Buddhists would say, it's something you just should always be working on. And I find that the more that I work on that, the better it is. Because it is like the number 3. It's about learning to reframe the negative to the positive. And sometimes all you can say is, I have no idea why I have to learn this right here, but I bet you down the road I'm going to be really grateful that I had this reference point or this experience. And, in the world right now, never in my existence has what is good and what has not been good so obvious and blatant. I think we need everyone to contribute to the goodness of the world today in any and all ways you feel compelled. Kindness counts today, now more than ever. The astrology today is, again, fairly simple. I mean, we're doing this transition, moving out of Taurus and moving into Gemini. So there's not a lot of planetary weird stuff going on except for this major shift. And going into Gemini today is activating the minds of all of us. And motivation comes from those thoughts that inspire us to engage more with others. For many years, I've used the example that my favorite Gemini is Bill Gates. And so right now, I think that's sort of interesting because of everything that's going on in the news related to Bill Gates. One of the hard things in life, in the Gemini-esque reality, is to have the expanded mindset of a Gemini so you can see the possibility, you can dream awake the dream, and then somehow ground it into the physical. So I think it's interesting in the astrology that we start out in Taurus and then we astrologically move into Gemini, because if you're going to expand the mind, you better have good grounding. And I have seen so many people that have taken shortcuts and they have terrible grounding, but they want to use substances and drugs and alcohol and spiritual experiences in order to go this way into that expanded mindset. But they have terrible grounding. And the moment they do that, they lose their center. And I remember so many times that gurus would say to me, God, you have such good grounding. You have such good practical, stabilizing grounding. And I'm like, well, number one, I was a ballet dancer, so everything was body, everything was in the physical. And if you couldn't make it into the physical, then what good was it anyway? And I think that that's really true on a lot of things. If you want to manifest anything in the world, having the idea is easy. Having a dream is easy. Making that happen, manifesting that, whew, that is really hard. And so motivation, comes from the thoughts of Gemini that inspire us to engage more with others. But be aware if you're feeling more scattered as we move into Gemini, as this energy shifts. I want everyone's curiosity aroused, which is Gemini, and there are many options available if we are ready, willing, and able. Gemini teaches flexibility. It's a skill to practice, and the moon is in the detailed and organizing sign of Virgo. It's about clearing and cleaning up. Figure it out and keep things moving. That will help you feel as if progress is happening. Besides, details matter. People think they don't. Oh, I'm just gonna. I can't tell you how many people say to me in a session, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be a famous musician." I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome. So what do you play?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't play, but I'm going to be a famous musician." I'm like, again, somebody who's living in their head, they're not living in the physical world. It takes a lot of time and skill, and attention to detail to make things happen in the physical world. And if you don't translate those things into the physical, then you're just going to be consumed by your natural flow of the karmic patterns and destiny of your astrological chart. And I believe that everyone can transcend their chart, absolutely. But I think that you have to be very conscious of what needs to transcend and really look at it, and then not hide from the truth of that, not hide from the harshness of that. And take a look at what will support you in your higher and more long-term goals. Gemini is the sign of genius when grounded and stabilized, and that tells us that we need to support the dream by doing what is necessary in the physical world. So, again, I do not know Bill Gates, and I do not know Melinda Gates, and I've never met them, and I've never looked at their charts, honestly, in that great of a detail. But what I can tell you is that, her coming into his life was a grounding mechanism for him. And notice that based on the accusations, which may or may not be true, he still had that idealistic, I can do whatever I want pattern that is now backlashing on him. And I see this with a lot of very famous and very wealthy people, that they think, oh, I've got power and wealth, I can do anything I want. I'm like, not with the astrology that's going to happen for the next 300 years. I'm like, I'm sorry, but the truth is going to come out. I mean, that is what this astrology is doing. And it's doing it for all of us. I mean, it's not just them. It's going to be all of us. And so where are you in delusion? Where are you in la-la? Where are you distorted? My sister, who's a pediatrician, she basically says that she's never seen so many adolescents that she would actually label as mentally ill, that it shocks her, because they believe in all of this craziness that is on the internet that is not true. And it is affecting them, and it's affecting their mental development and their ability to rationalize and participate and be part of the real world. And so, again, those people that are putting that stuff out there, that's so bizarre and weird. I mean, God help you in the next lifetime, even if you get a human lifetime, because the karmic consequences of causing destructive thoughts and behaviors in millions of other people, I don't want to be them. I mean, I don't want to be them, so, we need to support dreams by doing what is necessary in the physical world. We need to be able to manifest it in the physical world. So, again, using the example of Kennedy, he said, we're going to go to the moon. He didn't say we're just going to idealize and go to the moon. He was like, we're going to go to the moon. And then all the scientists said, wow, we're going to the moon. How do we do that? Oh, we're going to need oxygen. Oh, we're going to need spacesuits. Oh, we're going to need to deal with the freezing cold. Oh, we're going to need with propulsion. Oh, we're going to need to deal with zero gravity. Oh, we're going to need to deal with all this stuff. And so they manifested tools in the physical to be able to create that dream. And that's the way everything of value really happens in this world. And so, I'm at this point in my life where, if something is so blatantly false, I'm going to tell you it's blatantly false. I'm going to tell you that it's not based on anything in the real world. And, as the guides would have said to me when I was younger, they were like, what purpose does this serve? Like, what purpose does this piece of information serve? And they taught me how to analyze information by its intention and its motivation. Like, what purpose does it serve? Oh, it's serving chaos. Oh, that's the purpose. Do I want to perpetuate something that destroys reality, destroys countries, destroys monies, destroys organizations, destroys faith and beliefs, destroys all these things? No, not at all. So, that's this process. So when you see something on the internet, immediately ask the question, what purpose does it serve? And who is it serving? Does it serve to make you crazy and dysfunctional? Then other people get to control you. Does it serve you in being a better person? Does it serve you in helping others? Does it serve you in making a difference? Does it serve you in going towards a dream? Or does it serve you in collapsing you and making you afraid and resisting things that would help the world? It's that simple. Okay, my quote for today. Life takes time and patience, mostly with ourselves. Things move at a pace that seem slower than snails. But we need to move and we need to stop. Life is about what happens between the bottom and the top. Perhaps you can break out of the karmic loop, but take a good look at those within your personal group. Some are there to test your soul, and some are there to make you whole. And sometimes they are one and the same. That is when you realize there is no one to blame. Okay, on my blog for today. The older I get, the more I do what enlivens my soul. It is not about impressing, aspiring, or trying to cajole. It is about listening to the silence in between the worlds. It is about understanding the conversation from the birds. All things in life have a voice and a song. All things in life have a purpose and belong. I don't care what your opinion may be. If you cannot love all things as far as your eye can see, then you are not in a place where your soul can align with the bigger purpose and see that compassion is divine. Then this is not the time that your soul can be with me, because you are trapped and not carefree. I wait for those that wish and grow on the winds that intend to bestow grace and love, truth and care, authentic expression with room to spare. Thanks, everyone.